Hey there, welcome. If this is your first time here, hello, my name is Jenna. If not, welcome back to the chaos. Hopefully not. I just finished recording a video and it went relatively smoothly, so let's hope that continues with this one. Anyway, I am doing a review on the Maybelline Lifter Plump and Glow Foundation. I have been trying this out for, I'm pretty sure it's over a month now. I was planning on having this video up a lot earlier, but I just didn't get around to it basically. So we're doing it today. Now I have been using this, as I said, for about a month. It's been one of the only foundations that I have used over that month. I've used a couple here and there, but it's been predominantly this foundation. So I have some thoughts on this one. So before I get into the actual review, let's talk about claims. I've written it all down here. So the claims of this foundation are that it has medium coverage, a glowy finish, it has 2% niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. It does also have peptides, I believe. That one was a bit confusing because it doesn't say on the Maybelline website that there's peptides, but on the actual bottle, it says there's peptides. So I don't really know, but it also says that it has up to 24 hours hydration, skin looks plumper and brightened instantly and over time. We're going to focus on the instant results rather than results over time because I already have niacinamide and hyaluronic acid in my established skincare routine. I've been using both of those products for many years at this point, so I don't think, even if I were using this every single day and it was literally the only foundation that I used, I don't think I'd see any sort of long-term results with it because I already have those products in my routine, in my skincare routine. And I think the skin looking plumper and brightened, that sounds like things that niacinamide and hyaluronic acid would do. So yeah, even though I've been using this for a month and I have been using it fairly consistently, I haven't noticed any results, but I wouldn't expect to get long-term results with it because I already have that established skincare routine. So now that we've talked about the claims, let's talk about my experience with the foundation. I have the shade 114, which is the perfect shade match for me. If you are the same skin tone as me, then maybe go for that or just use a tester in store. Now, I would agree that this is medium coverage. It is buildable though, so if you want to sheer it out, you definitely can. One thing that I have noticed with using this is I need to use a little bit more to get it up to that medium coverage that I'm happy with. And I will typically have to use like 2.5 to 3 pumps of this. Typically with other foundations, I just need to use like 2 pumps at the most and that'll do my whole face, but I need to use like an extra 1/2 to 1 pump with this one. All right, I have a small human over here, so if you hear things in the background, she's coloring. Now, this does have a glowy finish, although I found that the products that you're using underneath, so like skincare products and primers, can change the finish of this a little bit. The favorite primer that I have used with this one, if I'm wanting it to look more matte, is the One Size setting spray. I just spray this on my face, initially let it dry down, which dries pretty quick anyway, and then apply the foundation over the top. And then I will usually set with this with this setting spray as well. But I've also been testing out the NYX, the face glue primer. That's what I have used today, and I found that that works really nicely under it. I haven't really had issues with any primers sitting weird underneath this, except for one. It was the Barry M gripping primer, but I think that's the primer, not this foundation, because I've had the same issues with it looking heavy and cakey and like grabbing onto foundation. other foundations, not just this one. So that's a primer issue, not a foundation issue. So all other primers, haven't had any issues with them, with the foundation sitting weird over the top of them. I'll insert a clip of me applying the foundation when I want to get more of a mattified look out of it. But basically I apply the One Size setting spray, the mattifying setting spray, to my face first and let that dry down. And then I will apply the foundation over the top of that, and I find that that really does knock a lot of the glow out of it, and it does stop it from looking glowy quicker. Because what I have found with this foundation is, although it is very long wearing for a glowy foundation, I can get about 5 hours wear time out of this before it starts to look quite shiny, and then I'll have to blot it and then apply just some more of that One Size setting spray over the top of it, or just spray that and then see how it goes. So I've written down wear notes, and they are that it looks very natural on the skin, which it does. I have never had an issue with this looking kind of heavy or cakey or anything on the skin, other than when I use that barrier and primer. But again, that's a primer issue, not the foundation. Doesn't settle into fine lines. This one is true for the most part, but every now and then, like if I've applied too much on my forehead here, like between my eyes, sometimes, because I'm very expressive and a lot of my expression is this for some reason, if I'm angry, if I'm concentrating, if I intensely like something, I will always frown. But I will sometimes get a little bit of settling just in mainly this side, but if I just tap it out, it will go away, and using setting spray will help with that. I just haven't applied any today. It does have a glowy finish without looking oily. However, it does start to look oily at about the 5 hour mark, which is very good for a glowy foundation. In my experience with other more radiant or glowy, luminous, whatever types of foundations, I will not usually get 5 hours out of them. Around the 5 hour mark, I will start to look a bit shiny in my T-zone, but I can just either blot that, whether that be with a tissue or like toilet paper if I'm at work and I don't have tissues handy. I will just blot it and then spray with usually the One Size setting spray, and it will basically just refresh it and make it look like it's just freshly applied, and then I can get another however many hours out of it. But even then, when it's wearing down, it doesn't start to look patchy and like weird as it's wearing down. You know how some foundations, once they start to wear off, they start to look really rough. This isn't one of those foundations. I found that wear down is pretty good. If I've been wearing it for like 10, 11 hours, like I wore this to work a couple of times, and by the end of my shift, it was looking pretty rough. But all things considered, it wasn't that bad. Now, one issue that I had put in my wear notes is that my nose, when I first started wearing this, like the first few days, when I would take pictures of it, my nose looked red, and then that kind of stopped happening. What I think the issue was is that I had just come off having a cold, so I think my nose was just red and kind of irritated from wiping it all the time, and that redness was coming through, but you couldn't see it in real life. It was just in pictures, like it was just pictures that were picking it up. So I don't really know what was happening with that. And then I did also at the same time have issues with it not wanting to stick to my nose. So I think that's just because I was coming off a cold, because I have not had any issues with it whatsoever since then. So I don't know. So interaction with other products, other than that one primer that I was having issues with. I've found that different types of primers work really nicely with it. Different setting sprays work nicely with it. Although some setting sprays, depending on the spray itself, can change the finish of it a little bit. I've noticed that mattifying setting sprays do work better with it, longevity wise, or just a setting spray that doesn't change the finish of the foundation itself. As for bronzers and blushes, I have not had any issues with any type of product I've put over the top of it. I have used powder bronzers and haven't had any issues, and I'm even brushing, like rubbing the brush over to apply the bronzer, not just stippling. More liquidy products like cream bronzers I have stippled, but that's just typically how I apply the bronzer anyway. And then I've tried liquids, creams, and powder blushes and haven't had any issues with it lifting product or anything like that, which is quite impressive, because even some like more matte or even satin type foundations, I have had issues with those lifting up underneath the product, the bronzer or blush as I'm applying it, and I haven't had any issues with these whatsoever. All right, let's talk about final thoughts. I love this foundation. This has quickly made its way up to one of my favorite foundations, especially for just everyday wear. This is kind of the foundation that I will just reach for, so I don't have to think about what I'm going to use, because I know that this is going to look amazing on my skin. It's just such an easy foundation to use. I would not consider this a work foundation. My work shifts are typically 9 hours, and then when you also include the commute to and from work, by the time I get home from wearing this, it is looking a little bit rough. It's not something that I would consider an all day or a work foundation, because it just doesn't last as long. Also, my job can be quite physically demanding, not in a sense where I'm like doing a lot of, you know, hard labor or anything like that, but I'm walking around constantly. I'm a veterinary nurse, so I'm, you know, holding animals a lot. I'm nursing surgeries, like I'm doing a lot of just moving around, and I get sweaty. So that's why this foundation just doesn't hold up in my work environment. However, if you're somebody who works in air conditioning all day, you're sitting at an office chair, you're not doing any sort of like physical activity, then this may last a lot longer. It just doesn't last as long as I would like for me and my work conditions. So that would be my only, I guess, like criticism, although I don't really consider that a criticism, but that would be the only thing that I would consider if you're buying this foundation is, are you going to buy it for everyday use, or are you actually going to be doing physical work? Like, are you going to be working and getting sweaty and hot and things like that? Because this may not hold up as well. But in saying that, for every day, this has quickly become one of my favorites. I've used a bunch of it, as you can see. I'm probably halfway, I think I'm more than halfway through this now, and that is very difficult for me to do because I buy and use a lot of makeup. So yeah, this is definitely a favorite of mine. And I will repurchase it. I am very confident that I'm going to use this whole bottle, and I'll repurchase it once I'm done with it, because I do really, really love it. Oily skin types, I don't have oily skin, so I can't really say whether it would be good for oily skin types or not. Just from how it wears on me though, I think you will have to really mattify it down. You'll have to use mattifying primers, you'll have to use mattifying setting spray. You'll really have to mattify it down as much as you can and take all of those precautions to get it to last. But yeah, for me, I love it. I think it is a phenomenal foundation. get it when it's discounted. Don't buy full price, but I say that pretty much about everything. And you can get it from Chemist Warehouse and also Priceline. So just wait for a sale before you purchase it. So that is everything today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any more questions, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.